Welcome to Crushgasm, the podcast dedicated to the highs and lows of crushes. From their first to their worst, we're going to cover them all with a cascade of characters, including our guest today, a creative beast who always has something going on, Rod Kim, a songwriter, YouTuber, 90s nostalgia junkie, and an intense Mortal Kombat fan who is here to talk not only about all the goodies he has going on, but also a couple of crushes who awakened him sexually when he was just a wee boy in Kokomo, Indiana. Rod, how are you?
Great, doing good. Weather's amazing. We're going to be talking about Mortal Kombat. It's awesome.
Yeah, we're going to get into Mortal Kombat in a minute, but first, the idea of when I started this, I was talking to like guys and girls and everything, and guys, it seemed like crushes were coming a little later, and you're kind of the first person to do a crush at like 10, and we got into the idea of maybe boys just don't notice girls until a later age. Is that something you noticed? Are you a little too busy with like your action figures and all that? Or?
I don't know. I feel like I had a weird experience since, like you said, I grew up in Kokomo, Indiana, and no shade against Indiana or Kokomo or Greentown, where I spent my teenage years. We didn't have a whole lot of culture, at least in the 90s. And so I think it was, like a small pond, put it that way. And so like, for me, at least, the crushes I mentioned to you that we're going to be talking about probably happened because I wasn't having to think about like someone I'd spent like preschool with or something, you know?
That is like, in psychology, they say when we're younger, we choose our friends and in many ways our crushes just based on proximity. So there was nobody in Kokomo that was catching your eye. You were just like, ew, not my cup of tea here.
maybe I knew too much or something. It was funny though. I mean, maybe in like another podcast in our life, I will talk about someone that maybe that's what it is. Maybe like guys like me were just like dumber. Because I say that because when there was someone that we had grown up together, and then it wasn't until after college that I flew back to Indiana and be like, you were the one, you know.
That did come up in an interview I did recently.
So that was really late. So maybe that's part of the biology of it, is like the brain parts don't start working, right?
Yeah, we talked about like you have this crush when you're younger, but then there's all these insecurities, like you don't want to tell them because if they don't like you, it's going to mess up the friendship or it's going to be weird at school. And then you find out years later, maybe it could have worked if you just had a little bit more confidence to say something, you know? That's how I feel. I'm like,
a huge part of it, because long story short, there was a prom date and I was afraid to ask her out. And then because she had like turned everybody else down, and then I found out when I finally got the nerve to ask her, because my best friend dared me to. She had turned everybody else down because she was waiting for me to ask. It was like a after school special.
Bob Saget came on and was like, "Listen, Rod, right. If only you had the confidence then."
Yeah.
Michelle's like, "You got it, dude."
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what, and maybe part of it too was like I only recognize these as crushes in hindsight. So maybe that's another thing, is like maybe like at the time we're just not putting the pieces together. Like, this is what this is.
Yeah. So when I looked at the dates, the fact that you were around 10 years old, it makes all the sense in the world you'd have this type of crush when you did, because at that time the 90s were very sexual, especially in the summer of 92. You had Baby Got Back all over the radio, everyone was having sex on Melrose Place, and then you were experiencing a whole new set of feelings after seeing Catwoman. Now, was this the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman or the animated Catwoman? Because they came out the same year.
Yeah, no, it was specifically Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, because I forget which came first, the movie or the animated series. The animated series, I remember like thinking she was cool. But I specifically have this memory, and I didn't remember it actually until the last Thanksgiving before the pandemic. We were having a Friendsgiving, and in the TV in the background, like Batman Returns was playing, and that scene came on when like she became Catwoman. And I was like, oh my God, like that. I remember this moment. I just flashed back. There was something about Michelle Pfeiffer's like body language when she turned herself into a cat, basically. And then just wearing like that, like skin tight, it wasn't leather, but I guess like, was it plastic or something that she had sewn that outfit out of? And it like triggered something in my brain. It's like, you need to pay more attention to this part of the movie. I just remember like telling my parents, like I was trying to be sly about it, but they probably just like laughing at me all the way. I was like, can I get the Catwoman Trapper Keeper? And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah. And then I think like we were like at Walmart or whatever, and then they would grab like maybe one of the cartoony ones or something. And I was like, oh no, that one, and it was the movie one with Michelle Pfeiffer on it.
Do you think they knew? That's always weird for me. Like, do parents know when we start like going through puberty and like what we're doing?
I'm in my late 30s now, and I still have not like drummed up the courage to ask my parents about things like that from my youth. But I think I inherited that from my father as far as like family relations go, because I remember when it came time, it was a couple of years after that, when the school has like the sex ed classes and then parents have to sign off on them.
Oh, we'll get to that.
My parents immigrated from Korea, so they didn't know how the school system worked. And my dad was like, oh, somebody else will explain this to you? Yeah, can I pre-sign for your brother? Like, you know. So I think it was like, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I've never asked them about that. They had to have known that there was some sort of infatuation there, because it got crazy for a little bit. Like I was like asking for posters, and I remember getting like the action figure and stuff, and then suddenly I had this like weird like interest in whips, which probably had them concerned.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. Well, because Catwoman's in the movie, but especially the action figure, but she had like this whip thing, and I was like, oh, I like something about this, you know.
So it's like the whip, the outfit. Was there anything like about that character, like personality wise, that you liked as well? Or was it all just like, this lady is sexual and I like this?
I think you're hearing me work this out in real time right now. So I'm not quite sure. I think there was something, a combination of like, she kind of took matters into her own hands, and I thought I was like, oh, powerful woman there, you know, like very strong feminine energy. And then also like that may have been the first time I like had seen like a sexualized woman in a piece of media that I was like seeing on purpose and allowed to see, and you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm
not quite sure, but it's around like 10 or 11, and being in a movie, because I remember we saw it in the theaters and stuff, and it was like a mainstream thing, you know. It just might have been like that was the thing, you know, like I wasn't going to see rated R movies before then, that I remember at least. So it might have just been like kind of happenstance.
Yeah, like subconsciously, you're like, maybe I can like this now because my parents are allowed me to see it. Yeah,
well, it might also have been like just the first time I saw it like unhindered, you know, like not trying to like look between the static lines or stuff. And also, like you said, I was kind of young, so it just might have just timed with the biology, you know.
And then you said like you did watch the cartoon, and the other Catwoman, she was cool, but she wasn't Michelle. But were you a fan of the cartoon?
Oh yeah, well? Yeah. It was a great that and the X-Men animated series. They were like such great storytelling, you know.
I like wasn't a fan of the Batman cartoon. I thought it was super dark. I was only like 5 when it came out, so I remember I would put it on mute because it came on right before Power Rangers. So I'd mute it and I'd play with my Barbies, but I'd keep an eye on the TV because I was like, I gotta catch Mighty Morphin.
Oh man.
So that brings me to, did you watch Power Rangers as well?
Oh yeah, no, I love Power Rangers. I especially love the toys, because like the action figures are like taller, you know, and stuff. They have like cool actions. I don't know if you knew this, for my YouTube channel, I actually interviewed the composer of the Power Rangers theme song.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I got to talk to him about doing all that, and he is also the guy that sang on it. But yeah, huge fan. There's something about, I don't know what it is about that like kind of like monochromatic like color codedness of like fictional characters, and I guess this is true probably like a lot of kids, and the reason they do it, that like I don't know, it was like very intriguing, you know, like I just thought it was cool, the uniforms and stuff. It
helps you pick a favorite easier because you kind of go in with a favorite color, but if it's like, oh, but now I like this one, so now everything, it's like if you went in, my favorite color is blue, like my little brother loved blue, but Billy was a nerd to him, so he was like, dang it. So he was like, shoot.
That's so funny, because it was kind of similar for me, because my favorite color is blue still to this day. I was like, oh, Blue Ranger. But then when I got the action figure, it was the Black Ranger, because I thought his Mastodon helmet was like really badass.
And he was like the coolest one.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's like I was never girly, so I instantly hated Kimberly. I just instinctively did not like the Pink Ranger because she was girly, and the movie made me hate her even more because she was like, Tommy, like, girl, you're Power Ranger, fight for yourself. I hated that.
I won't ever claim. I'll claim the '90s were a lot of great things, but being non-stereotypical was not one of those things.
Oh no. Yeah,
especially with the Power Rangers.
Yeah, the Yellow Ranger, the Black
Ranger. Right.
You didn't notice as a kid, but
yeah, the pink one's in a skirt.
Yeah. But anyway, so you talked about it a little. Your dad was really excited that somebody was going to show you that sex ed video, and he didn't have to say anything. Was that something you watched before you seen Batman Returns, or did that come after?
Oh, that came after. So I and it wasn't even like a video. Like we had like it was part of our health class. So actually there was, I forget if it was our health teacher or someone came in. And I just remember coming home with like the pamphlets and stuff. And yeah, I don't know how much, but I remember a little bit of it explaining like the feelings that had come a couple of years before.
Wait, did you not watch it in 5th grade? Did you watch it later?
I want to say it wasn't until I was in like maybe 6th, maybe 7th grade.
Oh wow, we got it in 5th.
Oh wow.
And I had already, like, I was an early bloomer, so I already knew what was going on in our video. I was like, been there, done that. So like I started developing in like 3rd grade. Like I was very early. So by the time we got to ours, I was like, all right, I know everything.
Oh wow! So you were doing like the tutoring for the girls?
No, that's the other thing. Like puberty was just so I think kids today probably are way more open with it, but I think back in the 90s, you were like, no, I'm not going through that. Even though you could totally say I have boobs, like I'm totally developed, but you're like, no, I'm like just like you guys. I'm still a kid. Still dating.
Yeah. No, I get that. Because like I said, when they gave the pamphlets, to take home with you, even though my parents knew that they sent them home, they signed off on them, and everybody else in school had them, I still like hid it. Like I remember having like, this is back in the days of diskettes. I remember having like a game for the computer, and it was in like those floppy disks, and I hid it under the foam in that box. Because like you said, there was some like kind of stigma about it. It was just like, oh, we don't talk about these things.
Yeah. This is just for me. These are my feelings.
Even though everybody else is going through it at the same time.
Yeah, there's 30 of us in this classroom going through this, but this is just on me.
I kind of wish that me and my group of friends, like there was some sort of, I don't wish there was a recording, but I wish there was a recording for me to listen to, because I remember vaguely there being some discussion about like the infatuations with like Catwoman, and like Katana, we'll talk about later, and stuff, and some of the other like female characters that got entered into like our kid world, and it had to have been the dumbest conversation, because before kind of like not just sex ed, but even like older siblings and stuff bringing that stuff up, like I can't even imagine what we put together that all of that was.
I know, like playing MASH, and like, did you play MASH? Did boys play MASH?
Was that the thing with the like the paper folding thing?
No, it was like MASH, and then you pick 3 people you want to marry, 3 cars, 3 places you were gonna have sex with these people. I don't know why. At like 10 years old, you're like,
oh wow,
it must maybe it's a girl thing.
I remember being asked about it, so if my memory serves me right, it might have, like you said, been like more of a girl thing at that time, and maybe somebody turned around and asked me like, right, where would you go? But I didn't know into the extent of like where you would bang somebody. Like
maybe that was like my little white trash town. We would like go that far. Maybe that wasn't the PG way the rest of America, but in my town where there were people very young doing those things.
Yeah, I'm sure it was happening. Even though like I grew up in a small town, like there's things happening in the shadows, it's just
yeah, but my hometown was wild.
Yeah.
You already mentioned her name, but we're going to talk about another one. So the next summer, it was 1993, and your favorite Katana from Mortal Kombat, even with those ancient looking graphics, you fell for her. How did that develop? Was it like the outfit again?
I actually kind of, like, so even though now It's not unusual to see like female ninjas and warriors and stuff. In the 90s, I think we just had like Xena. You know, but besides that, like, you know, Mortal Kombat really kind of like almost invented what we kind of call now like the bikini ninja, you know. And it's kind of laughable to think back on the original Katana and Melina and think that like, oh, like they were so sexy, especially what they turned into, you know. But I remember there was the arcade was called Jolly Time. It was in the Markland Mall where I would play games, and we didn't have like internet back then, so we already knew Mortal Kombat, the original game, was big. I was a huge fan of it. I was playing it way too young, and then when Mortal Kombat 2 showed up, I don't even know if it was like on the release day or whatever. I just remember going into the arcade and all the kids were like crowded around a machine, and I just caught the side of the machine. I was like, is that number 2? And I went around to see who was playing, and they were one of the players had Katana, and it's like, and everything was just like flooded at that moment. I think that was the actual awakening. It was just like, oh, we gotta go.
It was like in Doug, whenever he sees Patty and he's like, oh, like these little
kinda hearts. Yeah, I mean, I was already kind of if you think about it, at least for me, as far as like the way like 90s boys were kind of like raised and the things we were like kind of shown to like and stuff. If it checked all the boxes, you know, we're like ninjas, fighting, blood, pretty girl, you know, bikini, like.
It was like Pam Anderson, but in a cool game.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good parallel and reasoning, because like I think even though like the initial spark of the sex appeal was like, there's a ninja in a bikini in my favorite game, you know, that's awesome. It's just like this idea. This is gonna sound so cheesy, and I don't mean it to, but like it's true. Is like I think I was really attracted to the threat, you know, of like the power. It's like, this woman could cut me in half with a fan, like a metal fan, you know, like, ooh, you know.
You like to walk on like the dangerous side of love and sex and all that.
Oh, maybe that should have been a red flag for the future, Ron.
Don't you wish you could like know when you were little what's gonna be like? Right.
Yeah.
So like, you love Katana, but why wasn't Melina in the picture? Why were you like, get out here, girl? It's about Katana.
No, she kind of was. I literally, it probably was the color. You know, I was like, I love blue, you know. And I don't know. This sounds so terrible. But like Melina, at least when we were kids and those two characters were first being introduced, like Melina was always kind of like the secondary character, you know, like she was the clone of Melina and stuff. And I want to say that Katana was even higher up in like the character selection screen.
I feel like she was. Like, I can see her blue up there.
Yeah. I mean, I should not have a machine behind me right now. But I can wait for that to scroll by. But so to me, like, it was kind of like I didn't hate her at all. I just didn't think of her as much. That sounds terrible when I say it out loud. This is a fictional character, folks.
I mean, that's not so bad, because like around that age, like, I love Backstreet Boys, and I'll tell you right now, like, I was like, ew, Howie and Kevin, get out of here. And they're real people. So. Yeah. And to this day, I've loved them since I was about 10 years old, and to this day I'm like, ew, Howie, get out of here. No, that's fine.
Wait, was he like the dangerous one?
No, that's AJ. Howie was like the Latino one with the back then with the ponytail.
Oh, gotcha. And he had like the chin strap beard.
Yeah. And then, like, yeah. I mean, AJ also kind of had that sometimes, the bad boy, but Howie, he was kind of just there. Like, he's kind of like the dud. Like, they needed to round out 5, and they were like, this guy's okay. He's here. He's in Orlando. We'll take him.
That's funny.
I mean, every boy band has it, so I don't think it's bad to say, oh, Melina was just there, when it's like, look at NSYNC, Chris Kirkpatrick, just there.
Yeah.
Everything has it.
And I also, and once I got into playing the game, Katana felt like she was like, aside from the crush part, she was like a better character, at least for me, and stuff, just with the move set and everything, you know. To this day, like all those moves and stuff are like burned into my muscle memory, like throwing fan.
Are you
flying and all that stuff.
Like left, cross B, A2, like that?
Yeah, right. This is how bad it got with the Mortal Kombat moves, because before Katana came in the picture, not my favorite, but one of my favorites was Sub-Zero.
Mm-hmm.
And so, have you seen the recent Mortal Kombat movie?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, what were your thoughts on it?
Oh, it was so dumb, but exactly what the 12, 13-year-old me wanted.
Yes.
Like, it was awesome. But I mentioned that because the scene, this is not really a spoiler in case anybody's listening, but look out for it if you see it. There's a scene right before Jax is getting ready to fight Sub-Zero, but he doesn't know Sub-Zero is there yet.
Mm-hmm.
And in the background, there's some graffiti. This is in that warehouse. And the graffiti is actually like the move input for Sub-Zero's ice ball.
Oh.
So it was so ingrained in my memory. Everybody else was watching this movie and they're like, watch out, watch out. It's like, he's going to freeze him. The move's in the background. It's foreshadowing.
Oh. That's kind of cool. I'm going to have to rewatch that scene now.
Yeah.
Have there been any like new Mortal Kombat characters to catch your eye in like recent games? Or is Katana it?
She's still my boo these days. Like so I actually lost touch of like Mortal Kombat during the 3D era, because shortly after MK3 I went to college, and then after college I was like trying to figure out like adult life and everything, you know. And then I wanted to get back in when they came back with like MK9 and kind of rebooted the whole franchise. But I was still kind of busy. I was touring and everything. So I got back into MK11 and I was toying with the idea because I was still busy. I was in LA, you know, doing music and everything. But then they announced like Katana's going to be in MK11. They had a trailer come out and stuff. And it was just, I was 11 all over again. The trailer came up and I pre-ordered before the trailer was finished.
Wow.
And she's still a great character. So even in this game, I think there's like almost 50 characters in this game alone, and 99% of the time I'm playing her.
That's how it goes, though. I mean, once you find the one character, that's it. Like in Super Smash Brothers, I'm always Kirby. That's the only one I know how to do.
And he's fun. He can eat you.
Yeah, and I like to have all the little hats. I'm like,
oh wow! I don't play Smash Brothers enough to know the details like that.
Like when he like goes and he swallows you up. Yeah. Well, when he swallows Link up, he gets the little Link hat, and it's so cute.
Gotcha. Oh, that's awesome.
So that's like basically all I spend my time doing when I play.
Yeah. Right. Now on the flip side of that, I want to be Smoke.
You want to be Smoke?
The character.
Which one's that? See, I haven't played that in a long time.
He's not in this game. But he's basically the gray palette swap of the ninjas. And I want to say he was in MK3. I don't think he was in 2. But he's basically the gray ninja, and he has smoke around him and stuff. There's just something cool about that. Like he's kind of like mysterious and everything. But as far as crushes go, like I stayed faithful to Katana. Like, and now she's the queen of the outworld. And you know, when I was a kid, she was a princess, and now she's like, oh, you know, she's glowed up and
You're
amazing.
Like, I'm so proud of her.
Yeah, right.
You're a good girl.
Yeah. I don't know. I just I think, you know, on a positive side, like, so Catwoman might have like made me confuse like violence and sexual attraction a little bit, but ironically, Katana, even though she was in one of the most violent and gory games, it kind of like to this day is always gave me this like thing for like a powerful, like kind of not. This does really sound 90s, like powerful, independent woman, you know. Mm-hmm. That like even though Katana like, you know, was like kind of made out to be like this not a model, but like, you know, by the third game they literally had her in like laced up that, you know, you can't even figure out how her boobs are being held together, you know, with this outfit thing. Even though that stage happened, she was always, you know, princess or queen or something, and she took matters in her own hands and stuff. And some part of me like really loved that, and to this day, it's always kind of like attracted me to, you know, women that like, I don't know, like we do well together, but like they can run their own empire, you know.
So you'd say like Katana and Catwoman, there are a lot of parallels between them. Not only do they have these weapons that you seem to be very attracted to, like whips and fans, and like
well, you put it that way.
They are sexually, like, their outfits are very sexy and tight, but they're also, like you said, they're very independent and they're badass. So have the women you've dated in real life always kind of went that way too? Like, these are some badass bitches.
For the most part, yeah. Or I perceived that, at least at the beginning. And the more they actually were, I feel like the better, the longer our relationship lasted, and the better it was while it lasted. Haven't had a successful one yet. Put that out there. But I think like the worst one was when I assumed, and nothing against any woman that isn't. Stuff takes all kinds, But for me, like I think I remember, and I don't want to say what era of my life it would be because I haven't dated like seriously like a whole lot. So if I name an era, somebody's gonna be able to pinpoint who it is. But there was this one era where the setting we were in, I was like, oh, you wouldn't be in this setting if you weren't taking matters into your own hands. And I don't know what it was, but they weren't. And the longer things went, I'm like, this is not gonna pan out,
Like, So if you had to pick one of them, Catwoman or Katana, to live happily ever after with, which one would it be? And would you live in their world, or would you make them come to your reality?
Ooh, probably Katana, and I would go into her world if it was the ending in the game where she wins. Because I'm not I like to perceive myself as independent and self-made, but I'm not opposed to being arm candy.
And like Gotham City is like really rough, so to be with Catwoman would be like so hard.
Yeah, and also it's a very specific. It's like that '90s, Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, and she is certifiably nuts.
Like all the villains in that town are.
Yeah, totally. I mean, didn't she like partner up with Penguin in that or something?
I don't even remember. I mean, they're both in there.
I don't know. Yeah,
it would make sense.
They, like you said, Gotham City was like, it is too much. It's one of those fictional cities. You're like, why do people still live there?
That's what I always say. I'm like, they should make a show about everyone else in like these, like in Gotham City, and be like, oh, fucking Batman again, this guy, like the rich weirdo over there in the bat suit fighting the guy looks like a penguin. I'm just trying to go to work.
I think they tried to do that with the show with Vanessa Hudgens called Powerless or something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I never got to see it, but it didn't do well. So either the concept doesn't work well, they didn't write it very well, or people just weren't interested in it. But are you an MCU fan?
My husband watches, so I do watch occasionally. There's some that I don't like, and there's some that I really like.
They're starting to touch on that within the last couple of years, like the aftermath of like, being like a survivor of the Avengers saving you kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just like they make so much trouble, and it's like it's so annoying. And then like we're supposed to just pretend they're heroes, but I don't know. There's a lot wrong with it.
You might actually enjoy like the opening kind of like moments of Age of Ultron, because they basically destroy this like small town in Sokovia or something, saving it. But everybody's like, we'd kind of rather you didn't come here. You just killed like 100 people.
I know. It's like, come on, guys. Like, what are you doing? But
yeah.
There's some aspects of superhero stuff I like, and then there's some I don't. So.
Yeah, but then Katana in Edenia or the Outworld, depending on what timeline you're in and stuff. If she wins and she's queen and you're in her orbit, like nobody's gonna fuck with you. So.
You're going for the security in this fantasy.
Well, I mean, there's even a timeline in Mortal Kombat where, like, so her and Liu Kang are like the power couple in that universe, And there's a timeline where they both die, become like revenant, like underworld kind of like not zombies, but like undead. Ooh. But she's still kind of like, listen, me and you, even though we're both dead, we're still gonna rule this underworld. And it's like, oh right,
Always hustling, Katana. Always hustling.
She made like a crown of skulls for herself and stuff. I was like,
Well, that's probably something maybe you admired in her, because like you're always hustling too. Because we're going to talk about that. You always have something going on. Like when we first met, you were out here pursuing music. Now you got your YouTube going on. Are you still focused on the music side? Are you like songwriting for other people? Are you doing your own thing?
So I think when we first met, it was you were reviewing like one of my solo albums or something, right?
I think we did an interview or no. I know it was so long ago.
Yeah, it was a while. So I was working on solo stuff, and then the past like several years I was working on a duo called RKVC, which was great. We put a lot of good music out. And I'm back to doing solo stuff, but my main gig is I'm songwriting for like other projects. Some of them are artists, and some of them are like shows or YouTube videos or something, you know. I like all of it, but I really love, I think my heart is in like writing for like other artists and stuff, or with other artists. But I am working on some solo music. I actually just kind of put out into the universe that after, I want to say, since like the end of last summer till last month, I just been on a whirlwind of working on projects for like with other people and stuff. And so for this summer, I kind of said like, okay, Rod, you're going to finish these songs you wrote for your album. I'm going to spend the summer hopefully doing that, and then get back to like working on other projects.
When you write for other people, do you find it, you said you like it, is it because it's like you don't have to be as personal with things, you can kind of be more universal with your ideas?
I think in the ideal situation, what I like about it is that I can connect with something that maybe wouldn't, I don't want to say on brand, but like wouldn't necessarily have come from me otherwise, you know? Mm-hmm. So like for an example, there was this artist from Italy named Giada J. This was before I was songwriting full time, but like even then, we wrote a song called Pretty, and I had pitched the idea before to someone else, and it didn't connect with them, and then it connected with her. It was like, we should do a song called like Pretty, because I am pretty tired of you asking me to dress up and this and this and this, and then she just went off. And she was like, last week someone at a gig told me I should wear a different shirt and blah, 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 you know. And I was like, okay, I love that. I had this kind of idea from hearing from other like female, you know, friends and performers, like some struggles and stuff. But then also for, you know, guys aren't immune to like social pressure with the appearance either. Mm-hmm. And so there's a part of me that like, maybe I should explore more, but like doesn't naturally like happen. I'm not writing songs about like being worried about my appearance and stuff, you know? So in that case, I was able to connect like a 1% of me that was able to connect with her like 99% mm-hmm. was like a really great exploration of like an idea that like might not have been, probably wouldn't have been on like one of my projects. And then sometimes just like ideas come up that I just would never have thought of, but I love like rolling with it. I just finished a project for a new artist named Zach James, and I worked on the whole thing in bits, but like I worked the most on the song called Dragon Party, and he's a huge anime fan. I don't know that much about anime, but essentially he wanted kind of like this anthem of like being the underdog, and you know that thing in anime mm-hmm. where everything's like constantly escalating. Yeah. And so like just take that kind of power and roll with it. And so like that is not something I would have even thought of before, because I'm not in that anime. But I was working with a J-pop artist on it and stuff, and so it was really cool to like feel powerful and everything. And I got so into it that both me and the other co-writer actually feature vocalists on it. Oh. And so I think that's my favorite part, is like these like little components that are probably some level of truth in myself, but maybe wouldn't have been explored otherwise. And also it's nice to have like a little challenge. I had not written a whole lot of rock before then. Mm-hmm. And that was like a good way to explore that. Like I wrote some guitar riffs and drums and stuff, and it was like empowering. And then after that I felt invincible, so I just started booking like a lot of like rock projects, probably like really overconfident. You got it. So you're exploring new sides of yourself, and you're exploring, now you're into YouTube. What inspired you to get into the YouTube realm? So it starts kind of like boring, but then it got like a lot better. So before moving to LA, when I was with the duo RKVC, we had a friend, Lauren Weissman, who's at the time was a music consultant, and there's like this YouTube thing, you got to be in there, even if it's just for visibility or whatever, you know. Mm-hmm. And so we were literally just doing, you know, what early YouTubers were doing, just like vlogs and challenges and stuff that I probably would super cringe if I watched now. But then and we didn't even know what that was. Like, wasn't worried about subscribers or followers or anything like that. Didn't even know that was important. We were just doing it because someone told us to. So that was the boring part. But then we moved to LA, and I think a month after moving to LA, we got invited to like a party at the YouTube Space Studios that are on the west side. And it was like a music night, and you're gonna kick out of this. They were debuting the new artists Lucas Graham and Andra Day.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them.
We were like, oh, they're great. Why aren't they at the Grammys? Then a year later, they were at the Grammys. But we stepped into the building, and I remember looking around, meeting some other YouTubers, and just kind of clicked. We're like, oh, we gotta step this game up, like be filming on better cameras and kind of be more purposeful, with it. And I don't know, then it just kind of slowly naturally became like more and more like my friend group were YouTubers, or they might have been some people like me who were like musicians or songwriters or people in industries that like YouTube was like the conduit to like find their audience or their community. And just kind of went from there. It started off as like releasing music and exploring like being an independent artist in the space, and then it kind of grew into like now what it is collaborating or interviewing like famous composers and stuff. Like I mentioned Ron Wasserman, who did Power Rangers and the X-Men theme song, and the Silver Shirts, who did Gummy Bears and Tailspin. And recently I just did an interview with Brian Elder, who did the theme and all the music for Rick and Morty and stuff. So it's just kind of turned into that, and I'm happy with that because I get a chance to like talk with basically like the heroes,
Back it up. Gummy Bears. That is my favorite 90s theme song. I think it hands down, it is the best one of animated series.
If we ever get a chance to meet up, I'm not allowed to share it on social media, but on my phone, I have a video of the composer singing that song on the piano in my garage.
Oh, it's just like when they're like, Gummy Bears. Oh, it's so good. It's just I would put, like, it's definitely my top 10 theme songs, but animated, it's probably number 1.
Oh, wow.
It's just so good.
Yeah, those guys were awesome. I'll send you the video. We reacted to covers of the Gummy Bears theme song on YouTube.
Ooh, I gotta look those up.
Because they were unaware that there were covers online.
I look up covers, of just like regular songs, but I've never looked up a theme song. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was that one or the Tailspin theme song, but one of them. I think it was Gummy Bears. The last one we showed him was like a choir in Germany of like at least 100 kids or something, and I think that like really like pulled their heartstrings, because they were like, what? Why did they do that? It's like, this is the legacy you guys left,
Are they like shocked that people remember them that much?
Yeah, totally. Like when in that, I think you can see it in that video, they're just like in awe. What kind of spurred it on was through music circles and stuff. We had already been friends for a while. Mm-hmm. And then we started doing this like thing with the other composers, and I was like, oh yeah, we know Michael and Patty. And I remember being like a friend's like brunch at their house, and mentioning to them like, oh, did you see so and so YouTuber did a cover of Gummy Bears or whatever, and they're like, no, how many people, like, does that happen? And we're like, wait, you don't know about this? Like, I watch How to Fix My Brakes or something on YouTube, and I was like, okay. And this was like around the holidays, so we're like, don't open up YouTube until after the new year, and then come over to my place and we're gonna record this thing. And so they were just like, they had no idea that like not only that people still remember them, but it had like continued through time,
There's do you remember that it wasn't like a board game, but it was like a game called Crossfire with like little metal. That theme song's really good for the jingle, I guess you'd call it. But there's a really that's a cover I have watched. It's very dramatic and dark. I looked that up. Okay. And a Bananas in Pajamas one that is just like haunting. Those are two, because I love theme songs, so I would make mix CDs of them, and we often, I have it in the car and we listen to it very often, and my husband's like, why? And I'm like, these are my jams. He's like, oh my Lord.
Oh, that's awesome.
Do you have any like composers you're hoping to have on?
Yes, so there's a few, and I honestly can't remember how many of them I'm allowed to talk about, but So I'll leave it vague. But there's a few that were scheduled before the pandemic, and then now that things are kind of on their way back to being kind of normal, we're like re-exploring. I guess I can talk about this one because I don't know, and if they're listening to this for some reason, please get back with me. But so the first cancellation we had of the next collab was so the Mortal Kombat theme song was done by a band called the Immortals, which was actually 2 members from Lords of Acid. And so I was supposed to sit down and do a similar collaboration with Lords of Acid. That collaboration was scheduled for March 13th, 2020, which you're in the LA area, so that was like D-Day for us.
Yeah.
Like that was the first night that we were like LA was closed,
Panic.
And so we put a pause on it. We were like, well, let's see how this goes and then revisit it. And we haven't revisited it yet. So that's at least something that I would love to do again, because that song is so iconic. I did do a video on it where we explained the music theory of it, but I would love to like sit with them, talk to them, like what the process was and everything. And then there's a couple other, I guess I haven't really talked to him about it. The singer of the Pokemon theme song, we've talked
didn't
briefly.
He like had a really like resurgence in recent, when I think Pokemon Go came out, wasn't he like everywhere? I feel like he was at like a club or something singing it live, like.
That makes sense because he's in LA and we've had a little bit of email correspondence, but like you said, he seems very busy.
Yeah, it was like Pokemon Go, and he was like, you know what? I'm gonna ride this. Let me get on this. Have you found there like
I don't blame him, and his iconic voice,
Yeah, Pokemon. So have you found there are any parallels between creating music as a musician and then creating content as a YouTuber?
Slowly I have been. For the longest time, I won't lie, I kind of loathed some of the pressures of the YouTube side of things. But then I started seeing, especially other friends who were doing much better at YouTube. Like I'm a relatively small channel, but like as I started seeing some of the other friends who are bigger, like try to pump out like their videos and stuff, but also like take heart in like how like the quality of the videos and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of like my music. Like there's a level where I have to let go, but at the same time, like I don't want to leave it unfinished. So I'm starting to see that more and more now. And actually, it's funny, that realization had me like focus more on my music. So there's been a little less YouTube lately. But yeah, it is a community, and we're making things, and everything's like digital now. Like so, it's only like a click away to open up audio recording software or video editing software, But also the YouTube community has been great, and YouTube themselves. YouTube hired our YouTube channel to do music for their audio library 3 times now, I think. And they've been really great about that, and YouTube themselves have been super supportive. I was actually just texting one of the directors up north in San Bruno about something. They're really supportive of their creators. I know that's kind of taboo. Like a lot of YouTubers are like, screw YouTube, or whatever. But it's a big company, so there's all kinds of people there. The people I know, really great. It's good. It's good support system and everything. So I love the idea that it's kind of like the gatekeepers are a little bit down. Like you can, if you're a filmmaker or musician, whatever, you can just put it on YouTube, and the right audience might find you.
You never know what lies ahead.
Yeah,
when you upload.
So. I love and hate YouTube, but same. I mean, YouTube creating like videos and stuff, like creating stuff for the channel, and same with music. Like I love music; it's in my veins. But sometimes some of the workflow is a little hard,
They're gonna say you hate certain like channels because like I had my nephew, he's 9. We had him visit recently. We promised as soon as we got vaccinated and we had our 2 weeks, he could come visit us because we hadn't seen him in over a year. And there's like a whole other side of YouTube that you just don't know when you don't have children. And I was like, I hate this side because he played those songs over and over and over.
Was this like a Baby Shark situation, or
a little older? I won't say the channel, but they're very huge, and I found out they have toys, and so I was like, if they ever have like a concert or a live thing, we have to take him, and we're gonna have to have earplugs, but like we'll take him.
When we get off recording, I'll have to ask you because I think I know what you're talking about, and I might know them.
It's just like the most, like after he left, we still
Mhm.
sing the songs. We're like,
Yeah, yeah.
So other than like rescheduling things that, COVID kind of pushed far, what do you have coming up that we can look out for?
I'm writing for like I was and going to be writing for like a bunch of other stuff. So as that's being announced, you can see that. I'll try my best to keep it updated on my website, which recently launched as rodkim.com. Because that's like everywhere. It could be like an animated show, it could be like a YouTube video, for my own stuff. But the right now the biggest thing I'm working on is trying to finish my own music. Which sounds funny because you think that would be the first thing, but like I'm less focused on being an artist. This is like more for me because I love writing for other people, but at the same time, like there's a lot of stuff just for the artist in me has to get out, like. So hopefully in the coming months you'll be hearing music from me, and that'll be on the website, but also my socials and stuff. And then on YouTube is who knows. There was a while there that I thought we could like schedule and predict that stuff, and to a certain extent we can, but like YouTube more than music, I feel like you just like roll with the punches. I had no idea that we would turn into a channel that like talked to these composers I grew up, my childhood listening to and stuff. And I'm so glad that that's where we are, at least at this point,
Right. So other than rodkim.com that just launched, tell the people where they can find you.
Oh, cool. So my YouTube channels, the one where I was talking about with composers, KVC, that's the main channel. And I have my personal channel, it's just Rod Kim. Some music's on there, but also really that's just kind of a vlog of like whatever I feel like doing. I talk about French fries for one of the videos. I just kind of, my goal there was to take it back to YouTube 10 years ago, and just do whatever I want. And then Instagram is Rod Kim Rocks, and Twitter is just Rod Kim. But also all of that stuff is linked in the rodkim.com. I don't forget any of that. And I just kind of just hang, I've been experimenting because I people think I know what I'm doing in social media because I live in LA and I've been on YouTube and stuff, but I have no idea. I know songwriting, but also I'm on TikTok as Rod Kim Rocks. I have no idea what I'm doing there, but I'm kind of forced right now to pay attention to it because I posted a video of my cat getting yelled at by a squirrel and then went viral.
Oh wow.
So if you want to see that, or maybe you know me from that would be really funny. People hear this podcast, you're like, that's the guy with the cat.
Squirrel cat guy.
Yeah.
Well, squirrel cat guy, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about your sexually awakening crush today. And everyone, you can find all of Cat Squirrel Guy's information below in the description. And until next time, keep crushing it. And again.